Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The sound of her laughter used to make me feel alive. That night, it just made my chest burn. I sat in my car outside the restaurant for a moment longer than usual, staring at my reflection in the windshield. Tie perfectly knotted, eyes tired from pretending everything was fine. To anyone else, Daniel Hayes had it all. A stable career in architecture, a good home, a beautiful wife. But lately, that beautiful wife felt like a stranger wearing the skin of the woman I'd fallen in love with. Lauren Hayes had changed over the past year. She wasn't cruel, not openly, just distant. Her phone was always face down, her smile never quite reached her eyes, and our conversations had turned into passing updates instead of shared moments. She still hugged me before bed, but her arms felt colder every week. And still I tried. I kept hoping that maybe the late work nights were real, that maybe her new perfume wasn't for someone else. Hope makes fools out of men like me. I stepped out of the car and walked toward the restaurant, the noise of laughter spilling out before I even opened the door. Lauren waved from a corner booth, surrounded by her friends, that bright social glow painted across her face, the same glow that used to be for me. "Danny, finally," she said, tone light but edged with impatience. "We were starting to think you ditched us." I smiled politely, greeted Chloe and Renee, and slid into the seat beside her. My seat, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. Their conversation was already midstream. Weekend trips, new jewelry, some coworker scandal, all delivered with the sharp confidence of people who'd never known humility. I mostly listened, sipping my drink, watching Lauren light up when they mentioned the new regional manager at her company. Evan this, Evan that. She smiled too much when she said his name. "So," Chloe leaned forward, eyes glinting with gossip. "How's married life treating you, Lauren?" "Still perfect." Lauren laughed, brushing her hair over her shoulder. "Perfect? Please. Daniel's a good man, but sometimes I wonder if I settled too early. You know how it is." The comment stung, but I didn't let it show. I just kept my eyes on the candle flickering between us. Chloe smirked. "Don't tell me you're getting bored already." Lauren laughed again. Too loud, too careless. I mean, if I'd waited a little longer, who knows? Maybe I'd have married rich. The table erupted in laughter. Every chuckle felt like another nail hammered into my patience. I sat there quietly, heartbeat steady, mind calm, on the outside. On the inside, everything was turning to glass, shattering piece by piece. I lifted my glass slowly, caught her eyes, and said with a faint smile, "Then it's a good thing I believe in second chances, isn't it?" The table froze. The laughter faltered. Even the background music seemed to quiet down. Lauren blinked, lips parting slightly, unsure whether I was joking. "Daniel," she said, tone suddenly defensive, "it was just a joke." I interrupted softly, swirling my drink. "Sure. So was our marriage, apparently." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Chloe shifted uncomfortably. Renee pretended to check her phone. I smiled politely, stood, and added, "Enjoy your evening. I'll have the rest of my life to think about your punchlines." I didn't storm out. I didn't cause a scene. I walked out calmly, leaving her with her glass frozen halfway to her lips. By the time I reached the parking lot, the air outside felt different, cleaner, colder, sharper. That was the night I stopped loving my wife. And maybe that was the moment she realized she'd just awakened a version of me she'd never met before. Because love, once betrayed, doesn't disappear, it transforms into something colder, smarter, and far more dangerous. That was the night her rich fantasy started turning real, just not the way she imagined. The drive home felt endless. Streetlights blurred through the windshield like streaks of fading patience. I replayed her laughter in my head, that sharp, dismissive kind that slices through whatever dignity a man has left. She didn't even realize what she'd done. Or maybe she did, and that's what hurt more. When I pulled into our driveway, her car wasn't there yet. I sat for a while in the quiet, the hum of the engine filling the silence where our love used to be. Inside, the house was dark, too organized, too perfect, the kind of order that hides the chaos underneath. Her perfume still lingered in the hallway, faint but haunting. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, loosened my tie, and opened my laptop. Not for work this time, but for clarity. I didn't want to accuse her blindly. I wanted truth. So I opened her social media, her emails, even her work calendar. It wasn't hard. We'd built a life of shared passwords and trust. Irony is cruel like that. There it was, the name I'd seen before at dinner. Evan Cole, regional manager. He was tagged in every team dinner, every late-night brainstorm. And when I checked her email drafts, I found one that made my stomach drop. Tonight was amazing. I wish I could have stayed longer. I hate going home to pretend everything's fine. She never sent it, but she wrote it. That was enough. My hand trembled around the glass, but I didn't smash it. I didn't scream. I just sat there in that quiet living room, realizing that the woman I once thought I'd grow old with was already gone, replaced by someone chasing admiration, wealth, and attention. She thought she deserved more than me. By the time her car pulled in, my plan had already started forming. Lauren walked in wearing the same dress from dinner, but her smile had changed, brittle, cautious. "You left early," she said softly, dropping her purse on the counter. "Yeah," I replied, not looking up from my laptop. "Didn't want to ruin your fun." She sighed, stepping closer. "Daniel, don't be like that. You know how Chloe is. She always makes me say stupid things." I finally met her eyes. "You mean, she makes you tell the truth?" Her expression faltered. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "Maybe," I said. "But maybe you should start being honest about what proportion you're living in, Lauren. Work dinners that end past midnight, lipstick stains that aren't yours on your coffee mug, texts from Evan that say thinking about you. You sure I'm blowing things out of proportion?" Her jaw went slack. "You went through my phone?" "No," I lied smoothly. "I didn't have to." For a long time, neither of us said anything. The clock on the wall ticked like a countdown to the end of our marriage. She turned away, her voice shaking slightly. "Daniel, I didn't mean for things to go this far. It just happened." I wanted to ask what happened, but I already knew. And deep down, she knew I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of watching me break. So I smiled, a calm, deadly kind of smile. "I'm sure it did. But don't worry, Lauren. I'm not the type to get in the way of your dreams." She frowned, unsure what that meant. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," I stood, closing my laptop, "if you want to know what it's like to be with someone richer, don't let me stop you. Just make sure he's ready for the bill that comes with it." I left the room before she could reply. That night, while she slept, or pretended to, I sat in my home office drafting documents. Divorce papers? Not yet. That would have been too simple. Too expected. No, I had something more poetic in mind. I owned a 30% stake in her company's main design vendor, a partnership she'd helped establish years ago through me. She didn't know that the company was about to undergo an internal audit, one that could expose her little side benefits with management if the right documents were sent anonymously to HR. And the right documents were sitting on my desk. I wasn't planning to ruin her for revenge alone. I wanted her to understand what betrayal costs when it comes from the person you least expect, and to make her realize that the wealth she chased could vanish in one carefully timed move. A week passed quietly. We lived under the same roof, but spoke like strangers, polite and distant. She still went to business dinners. I still pretended to believe her. But behind that calm routine, I was orchestrating everything, pulling threads that she never even knew existed. Every night, I'd see her smile at her phone, that same smile that used to belong to me. And every time, I reminded myself, pain is temporary, but revenge is art. By the time she left for another work event, I had already sent the documents. The HR department received a package with timestamps, receipts, and email screenshots that showed her connection with Evan and her misuse of company funds during their business trips. I didn't even sign it. The truth didn't need my name to burn. When she came home that night, I was sitting on the couch with a calm expression. She walked in, heels clicking, phone in her hand, her smile already fading. "Daniel," she said carefully, "something's going on at work. Evan just got called into a meeting. They're saying." I looked up, cutting her off gently. "Really? Sounds serious." Her eyes narrowed. "Did you have something to do with this?" I gave her that same cold smile from the restaurant. "You wanted rich, Lauren. Congratulations. You're about to see how expensive it gets." Her lips parted, panic flickering in her eyes for the first time. And in that quiet, charged moment between us, I realized something terrifying. I didn't love her anymore, but I wasn't done yet. Not until she learned what true loss felt like. By morning, the quiet rhythm of our house was replaced by the buzz of chaos. Lauren's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Calls from coworkers, messages flooding in faster than she could delete them. Her usually flawless confidence had cracked overnight. I watched her pace the living room, still in her silk robe, hair disheveled, muttering fragments into her phone. What do you mean HR knows? Who would have? No, Evan, don't come here. Just fix it. Her voice was trembling now, something I hadn't heard in years. I sat on the couch, sipping my coffee, pretending to scroll through emails. She hung up, spinning toward me. Did you do something? I raised an eyebrow. Do something? Like what? Don't play dumb, Daniel. Someone sent company records, receipts, emails, things that could only come from inside. You're the only one who. I set the cup down gently, looking up at her. You think I'd waste my time digging into your little office romance? Sounds exhausting. She hesitated, scanning my face for a hint of guilt, but there was nothing left for her to read. I'd buried that version of myself with every night she lied to me. Lauren, I said quietly, when you live two lives long enough, one always kills the other. She glared at me, jaw tight, eyes brimming with disbelief. You wouldn't ruin my career over a mistake. I stood, closing the distance between us. Mistake. My tone sharpened. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. What you did was build an entirely separate life on my time, my name, and my trust. She flinched, and for once, she didn't have a comeback. The doorbell rang then, a cruel bit of timing. She froze, her face draining of color. When I opened the door, two company representatives stood there, formal and stone-faced. Mrs. Hayes, one said, we need to discuss your position. HR asked us to collect your company devices. Lauren stammered. Wait, this must be a misunderstanding. But they weren't listening. They handed her a sealed envelope and a clipboard. Her shaking hands took the papers. I caught the faint glimpse of the word termination stamped in bold letters. I could almost feel the air leave her lungs. I'll give you a minute, the rep said politely before stepping back toward their car. When the door closed, Lauren just stood there, frozen, the envelope trembling between her fingers. Her voice cracked. Daniel, they're firing me. They think I use company funds for personal expenses. I didn't. Didn't what? I asked, folding my arms. Didn't spend company money on hotel rooms you didn't need? Didn't travel with your manager for reasons that had nothing to do with meetings? She sank onto the couch, eyes red, mascara smudging. I didn't mean for her to go this far, she whispered. I just wanted to feel seen. You were always busy, always working. Don't. I cut her off. Don't turn your choices into my fault. For a while, there was nothing but the sound of her shallow breathing. The same woman who had mocked me in front of friends, who had made jokes about marrying rich, now looked like someone stripped of everything she once worshipped. But revenge, as satisfying as it was, carried its own strange emptiness. Watching her crumble didn't erase the years of betrayal. It just reminded me of how much I'd allowed myself to endure. That night, she stayed in the guest room. I could hear her muffled sobs through the wall. I wanted to feel pity, but pity was for strangers, and she wasn't that anymore. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. Her car was missing. No note, no message. I assumed she went to Evan, the same man whose career was now also unraveling thanks to the investigation. I went to work, pretending nothing had happened. My assistant, Mia, noticed the calmness in me and commented, "You look lighter today, Mr. Hayes." Guess I finally stopped carrying what wasn't mine, I said simply. A week passed before Lauren returned. When she walked through the door, she wasn't the same woman who had left. Her hair was unstyled, her eyes swollen from sleepless nights, her voice barely steady. Evan left, she said softly. He said he can't risk being tied to this. My friends won't even answer my calls. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of scandal. I stayed silent, watching her unravel with every word. I lost everything, Daniel, she continued. My job, my reputation. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're someone who finally met the price tag on your choices, I said. Tears streamed down her cheeks. You wanted to destroy me. No, I said quietly. I wanted you to understand me. She looked up confused. I spent years building a life for us. I worked late, Not because I love my job more than you, but because I wanted you to have the comfort you kept chasing. I thought stability was enough. Turns out, you wanted fireworks, even if it meant burning the house down. Her lips trembled. I made a mistake, and I made sure you'd never forget it, I replied coldly. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. The calm, steady man she thought she could walk over had vanished, replaced by someone unshakable, almost unrecognizable. She stepped closer, desperate. Can we fix this? I shook my head. You already did, Lauren. Just not in the way you hoped. I handed her an envelope, the same one I prepared days earlier. Inside was a separation agreement. Fair, clean, no shouting match. I wasn't going to drag her through courts or tabloids. I wanted her gone, not ruined. She read through it, tears splashing onto the paper. You really planned this all along. Yes, I said. From the night you joked about marrying rich. When she looked up, her eyes were full of regret. Real, raw regret. But it came too late. As she packed her things quietly, I stood by the window watching the sunset fall over our street. Every corner of that house carried echoes of what once was laughter, mornings with coffee, lazy Sundays. All gone now. But for the first time in years, the silence didn't hurt. It felt peaceful. When she finally walked out the door, she didn't say goodbye. She just looked back once, eyes full of something between guilt and gratitude. And I thought to myself, maybe some people only learn love after they've destroyed it. The night she left, the house felt different, quiet in a way that didn't ache anymore. For the first time in months, I could breathe without wondering where she was, who she was texting, or why she smiled at a phone more than at me. The silence wasn't lonely. It was honest. I walked through each room, turning off lights one by one, realizing how much space was wasted on pretending. The scent of her perfume still lingered faintly in the hallway, the ghost of a life that used to be mine. I didn't hate her for what she'd done. Not anymore. I just finally stopped letting her mistakes define me. A week passed. Then too, life, as it always does, began to rebuild itself piece by piece. I poured myself into work, into morning runs, into rebuilding the version of Daniel Hayes that existed before love became a battlefield. Then one morning, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name written in her familiar looping script. For a long minute, I debated throwing it away. But curiosity won. Inside, her handwriting was shaky but sincere. Daniel, I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know you were right. About everything. I thought wealth meant freedom, that admiration meant love. I chased things that never cared about me, while destroying the one person who actually did. I lost the job, the friends, the man I thought I wanted. And somehow, that's what it took to see clearly. You didn't ruin me, Daniel. You saved me from who I'd become. I'm starting over. I hope you already have. Lauren. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. I didn't feel triumph reading it. Just closure. She was gone, but she wasn't broken anymore. Maybe that was enough revenge for both of us, to walk away knowing the truth finally caught up to her. Over time, I started seeing life in color again. Simple things. Morning sunlight spilling through the kitchen, laughter from coworkers, the smell of rain on the driveway. Freedom, it turned out, wasn't about being alone. It was about not carrying the weight of someone else's choices anymore. Months later, I ran into Mia, my assistant, at a charity gala. She'd been my quiet anchor through everything without even realizing it. When she smiled, it wasn't the kind that needed validation or money behind it. It was real. Steady. You look happy, she said, tilting her head. I am, I replied honestly. Took me a while to remember what that felt like. We ended up talking for hours, about life, second chances, how love can rot when respect dies. Nothing romantic. Not yet. Just two people who understood that pain can either harden you or make you gentler. By the time I walked her to her car, I realized something. I didn't need revenge anymore. I'd already won. Not because Lauren lost her career or her lover, but because I finally stopped needing to prove my worth to anyone. She'd gambled everything chasing a fantasy, and I'd built peace from the wreckage she left behind. The house I once shared with her became something new. I remodeled the living room, replaced the wedding photos with art, turned her old office into a studio. I even hung a small wooden sign above the fireplace that read, Better endings start with truth. Sometimes when I caught my reflection in the window at night, I'd think about that dinner, the candlelight, her smirk, the laughter that cut too deep. And I'd smile, not bitterly but quietly. Because that night, I hadn't lost my marriage. I found my backbone. Lauren had been right about one thing. She could have married rich. She just didn't realize that true wealth isn't about money at all. It's about peace, respect, and the ability to walk away from what doesn't honor you. And that, I finally had in abundance.